Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back yet to another video of Before the Free Count. We are on our road to WrestleMania. This is episode 2 of our brand new series. I'm joined yet again by my co-host, Callum Jamie Hunt. Callum, how are we doing this week?
Very well. Thank you very much, Charlie. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Lots been happening since the last time we spoke. There's been a lot going on in WWE, and I think we've got a lot of things to break down today.
Are you ready?
We are Before the Free Count. Wrestling for the fans, by the fans. Your number one place for wrestling news, rumors, and all things wrestling. Charlie and Callum are two regular guys that met at a wrestling convention and now are bonded for life.
Not word bonded.
And now they talk about wrestling in their spare time.
We're back. New series. This is Before the Free Count. And this is the road to WrestleMania. So come along for the ride. And that is something we're going to jump into. Of course, we've got, fresh off the bat, we've got Penta has joined the WWE with his amazing debut. We've got to go over SmackDown and what went down on there. Raw, of course, this week was fantastic yet again. And of course, we're getting to that time. It's 2 weeks away. We're going to start making our list and predictions for the Royal Rumble, men's and women's. The way we're going to do this, we're going to have 2 picks per week. Now, we know that some people have already been announced, so they will already be on the list, okay? So apart from them ones, we're going to make our predictions, and we're going to add 2 for each type this week. So I get 2 guesses for the men and 2 guesses for the women. Callum gets 2 guesses for the men and 2 for the women. Very intriguing and exciting to get to that. Now, let's go back to where we were last week. Friday night SmackDown debuted on Netflix this week, Callum, and there was quite a few juicy things that came out of it. What did you think of the first SmackDown on Netflix?
I thought it was good, but I mean, I don't know. See, where I don't know what my standpoint is. Did they, is it really a Netflix SmackDown since it's not over in the US? I know it was
Yeah,
streamed live
that's the
everywhere,
thing.
but they
That's
didn't
the
really
thing.
address it too much.
No, they didn't. But I think the reason why is because they're still on a USA network or something like that. And but the thing is, um, it's on Netflix in nearly 80 countries. So why they're not addressing it for the wider audience, I don't really know, to be honest with you. So let me think here. Let's go back. The first thing to open up the show, of course, we were introduced by, I believe, Mr. Paul Heyman straight
Hmm.
away. He came out and he invited Cody Rhodes to the ring straight away, Callum. And he was telling us how he was actually really proud of what Cody's done. And Roman had actually got some respect for him. And he thanked him for the way he's, led the company for the last year. Really going down as, again, the same vibe that we felt last week with The Rock as well. And with Roman with The Rock and The Rock with Cody. It's been a very weird thing at the moment. You know it's building to something. I just don't feel this is all correct. I don't think they really are this friendly. I think something's being hidden to us, and I think that will be revealed at the Royal Rumble. But of course, going to the Royal Rumble, going back to that, the thing that Paul Heyman was brought Cody out to hear was that he wanted to thank him for holding his title and doing so well this year. And now Cody, now the tribal chief, now he is back as the tribal chief. He wants his belt back. And I thought personally it was going to be that he was announced to take on Cody at maybe the next Monday Night Raw or the Elimination Chamber, build stuff up for that. But no, they are going away. To me, and we'll get into it in a minute. I feel like they're throwing so many eggs into this basket that it really is unpredictable now. Because Roman Reigns has declared himself for the Royal Rumble. Callum, what was your thoughts when they went down that road? I wasn't surprised, but at the same time, with the amount of people that have already been announced, and with the way things are looking, what was your initial reaction when you heard that Roman's actually going to be in the Rumble? And bearing in mind, this is the first time he's been in the Rumble, I think, for nearly 5 or 6 years.
Well, it's interesting. I think this Rumble could, like a lot of things this year, be the biggest of all time.
Yeah, I 100% feel that. Do you think that it's interesting, or did you find it a bit strange that they've gone down that route, considering everything?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know. I think the Rumble has a lot of stakes this year.
Yeah,
It just does. I think the Rumble itself is going to be the centerpiece, of a new era.
100%. And of course, we had a few other shock surprises this week on SmackDown. I believe we had the USA title match, and we had some really good. We had Shinsuke Nakamura's match, which I thought was fantastic, by the way, this week on SmackDown. Thought that was absolutely brilliant. What other standouts were there for you this week on SmackDown, Callum?
Let me think back to SmackDown. To be honest, my mind's got blank. Just briefly touch on some points, and it will come back to me. Touch on some sort of key moments, and it will run back.
Let me just have a look here.
It feels like ages ago now, SmackDown.
Of course, the end match, the highlighted match was Cody Rhodes and Jay Uso versus Jacob Fatu, and Tamatonga. Um, Incredibly shocked that they lost that because of the interference of Kevin Owens. They're really heating up this match between Cody and Kevin. I think it's gonna be fantastic. I've heard a rumor of one thing. I thought I'd let hear your first reactions to this. Okay, so from what I've heard
Mm.
is that um the Cody and Kevin match is actually going to be probably the one that opens the Royal Rumble, which is shocking to hear. And the reason why is because there's a later on story going down the line, which is that Kevin will lose, but he will come in at number 28 or something like that in the Royal Rumble. Come down the ring after when he's been really hurt from the match. And he's actually going to be the one that gets John Cena the win, meaning that the way he wants to try and get his place will then be at the Elimination Chamber, where we could maybe see a John Cena versus Kevin Owens match, and it going forward to it maybe being a triple threat match, from what I've heard. What are your thoughts on that? I think it's a good idea, the idea of Kevin Owens coming in and trying to get his second chance in the Royal Rumble. The idea of him then having something to do with the story going down the line with Cody and Cena, I think is quite interesting. I mean, the other thing is, you go back to what we said a minute ago about Roman and Cody. And of course, you've then got the whole thing with The Rock and Roman. They're really throwing some things together this year. So, what do you think at the moment? Because we're about 3 months away now. Where would you say you would put the night one and night two at the moment, headliners? Because with the way things are looking, I know we spoke about this last week, but it's so open. I mean, it really could be anything. And I
Do
think I've said
you know
before
what?
that
I,
there's
I
about six
actually,
different matches that genuinely could happen and I'd actually be happy with.
do you know what I think is going to headline night one, and it's quite left field.
Go on.
I think it's going to be John Cena versus CM Punk. I think they're going to do an angle here. Maybe it will
Wow.
start in the Rumble, but I do think they're going to because CM Punk versus uh, John Cena was such a famous match at the
Yeah.
time. And I feel like that might be his retirement match. Well, not his retirement, but
No.
last WrestleMania. Him and CM Punk. I think that's a fantastic
I
match
think
to
it's
have.
something that would happen. but I don't think they do it that early. And again, are we all just playing into Triple H's hands here? And are we all just going, well, of course Cena's going to win. Well, of course he's going to go and win the championship. We're writing off three major events within just one statement that Cena made on the first Netflix. And everyone's now gone that, oh, of course, he's going to win the Royal Rumble and he's going to headline Mania and get the championship and, have it up to something like SummerSlam or um, what am I thinking of? I want to say Extreme Rules. It's not that. What's it called? War Games, Survivor Series. There we go. And that's where he'd lose it. But do you think we're having the wool pulled over our eyes? Do you think it's going to be that easy for John?
I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. I think, yeah, it's going to be. I feel Cena. There's something there. I think he will.
There's got to be something where he headlines one of the nights. I think Cena is a definite. Who he's against and what he's actually, I know it sounds stupid even saying this, but what he's fighting for is what I think is the interesting part here. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Moving on from that, of course, we had Chelsea Green retain her Women's United States title against Mishin. Uh, I thought that was a great match as well. As I said about the Shinsuke Nakamura match for the States Championship against LA Knight. And the other thing that of course we're missing is that Bayley has become the number one contender for the WWE Women's title going forward, which then went into Raw quite a bit, which we could jump into now if you want to. But going back to what I just said on both of their matches, uh, one thing I was going to add today, and I thought it was worth having a chat about, was they've added two new women's belts and two new types of tag team belts within the last 3 months. Is it me or does it feel like they've got enough now that you genuinely could have a title match at every single weekly event now? I think they've done it perfectly.
I agree. I agree. I think they could do that.
Yeah, because you've got the Women's United States, the Women's Intercontinental, Women's Tag Team. Is there two tag team belts? Am I being silly? Or is it just one set of tag team
No,
titles?
there are two. There's two sets.
So there's tag team and what's the other one?
Yes, there's like the World Tag Team and
The World Tag Team and the Undisputed or Universal Tag Team Champions.
yeah,
So you've got that. You've also got, I know it's not the stock on this, it really isn't that high anymore as it was when they launched it. And I don't really know where this is going to go. I feel like it's going to turn into personally the 24/7 title at some point, but you've still got the WWE Speed title that they could potentially at some point pull that onto Netflix to make a bigger deal out of. You've then got the men's intercontinental, the men's USA Championship, the World Tag Team Championships, the Undisputed Universal Tag Teams, World Championship, and the Undisputed Universal Championship. That's, let me count them again: USA Intercontinental Tag Team, World, Universal. That's 12 different types of titles now we've got. Just take that in. There's 12 different types of titles. 13 actually. 13 because you've got the speed one. So you could pretty much say we're gonna get a title match every single weekly show now going forward.
I yeah. I don't. They shouldn't overdo it though. I don't think they should overdo that sort of thing.
No, but I think they've got it at the right bar now, which I think's and I think that we've had this conversation before. I think that and I know it's because it seems so much bigger, but it's because they've added the women's USA and the women's intercontinental within about 3 weeks of each other, and let's be honest, they have been long overdue for many many years now.
They have. They absolutely have. I mean, What do you feel about the women's mid card titles?
I think it's fantastic. I was actually watching an interview earlier today with Chelsea Green, who is the USA champion. And so one of the questions was, what do you feel the difference is between when Vince was in charge and how Triple H is doing it now? And she actually said that the way that Hunter looks at the women's division, and the way that he's dealing with it and the way that he's booking things now is that he has said blankly that if he feels that the match should be at the top, he will, with no bones about it, put it there. And he has done it on several occasions. And the proof is in the pudding with both of them matches for the initial titles have been the main event. And the main event, I believe, on two other occasions since the initial winners. I know it's a bit of a weird subject. We weren't really going to go into this, but I think that again, I know we're repeating ourselves, but I really think they've nailed it at the moment with what they've done with the way that they deal with the championships, and it really is these days an even board.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to do it, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Moving on now to Raw, which was Monday as always for us over here, and there was quite a lot that went down this week. So to start off, we had CM Punk open the show. He said his regards for LA and all the things that are going on over there with the wildfires, which I thought was a really, really nice touch at the beginning of the show. And then, of course, then Seth Rollins comes out. I did really like the line that Punk said when he went, "Why couldn't someone like, I believe he said, why can't someone like Rhea Ripley interrupt me for once? Why has it always got to be this guy?" Um, which I thought was a great line from Punk there. And then just as Seth was getting to his point, we then get interrupted again by Drew McIntyre for this three-way promo, which I thought was absolutely fantastic to kick off the show, which was all three of them declaring themselves for the Royal Rumble. As I said, it's getting really, really exciting. This. Who do you think out of them three's got the best chance at the moment? I mean, I think you know who my money's on at the moment, purely because I thought he
What
was the best last year in his division. So out of CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre, if it was them three at the end, out of them three, who would you say you could see potentially going all the way at the Rumble this year, Callum?
it's got to be CM Punk,
I
and
think
that's not just because well, look, it's not just because I love the guy, but financially it makes sense. He's the most marketable person they have there. It's simply like he wins, they can push him. He's probably one of the biggest merch movers on the site. So, it just makes sense, I think.
I'll give you this, okay? And I'm throwing this out there now. If Punk doesn't have at least a title match, and I'm not talking tag, I'm talking even if it's something like the Intercontinental or USA. I mean, the World and Undisputed. I'm not going to say they're out there. I think the World is possible. Genuinely think the World title is possible for him. If he doesn't get a shot at one of them titles at Mania, then something's gone wrong. I've got to say that now. Winning the Rumble, I don't see him doing it that way. I can see him doing it by winning the Elimination Chamber. And I just feel that fits Punk better because you could get so much more out of Punk in that type of match, personally. And to me, it would make more sense for someone like Punk to win the Elimination Chamber. Now, out of the three for me, personally, and I know it's not going to happen, 100% know this, but come on, give the guy his flowers after everything he's done, literally since the last Mania. Drew's got to be within the top five, top four at the end of this Rumble. With the way things went last year,
Mate,
he's got to be in the top five near the end.
yeah, but the thing is, Charlie, we say about Drew constantly, and Drew's constantly being undermined and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think he might be on his way. I can't see him making. I can say top 10, but I don't think top 5.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't see him doing it.
I don't see him winning, but again, I see him getting into that holy grail last 10 minutes, top four, top five. I think it's owed to him, and I think I could almost say the same thing about Drew that I said about Punk, which is they need title shots this year. And again, I could. There's. I think we know that Cena's probably going to get a title shot. We know that Roman's probably going to go for something. What I don't know. I think it will be more the Ulafala against The Rock. My money's still on that. I still think it could be Cody versus Cena, even though what I said a minute ago. But in all seriousness, if Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and CM Punk do not have matches that are worth one title between them, then there's no one else on the roster that deserves a championship title out of them three in the men's locker room. Yeah, Logan Paul will get a match because, it will be interesting. Personally, I think he's going to be going for Shinsuke Nakamura. I can just see it happening for him to try and get the USA title back. Can just see it happening. LA Knight, I think, could maybe be thrown into a tag team to try and go for one of them. Dominic Mysterio, I don't think he really needs a title shot to have a big match now because he is just so over with the fans. But them three, I think they've got to have title shots this year. All of them. I just feel it has to be them three this year. And again, I could be completely wrong. And we know how these things work. We know how logistics work within WWE. I mean, shit. One of the best moments in Mania history, the decision was made 15 minutes into the main event happening. And of course, that involved one of the people we're talking about, which is Rollins when he had the heist of the century, when he cashed in at Mania 31. That decision was made 15 minutes into that main event. It was confirmed it was going to happen. There was talk about it, but nothing was confirmed until 15 minutes into that match. And that's how things can change. But I feel it has to happen for them three this year.
Fine. I mean, it's a close call, mate. You don't know who or what is going to happen.
No,
So,
100%. Moving on from that, we're going to go on to further into Monday Night Raw. We spoke about it earlier, Callum, but we had our inaugural Intercontinental Championship match where Lyra Valkyria became the first Intercontinental Championship against, I believe it was Io Sky. So no, it was Dakota Kai. I apologize. It was Dakota Kai. What do you think on that? Do you think she was a good choice? I think she was a great choice. She had a really high peak when she started, and I did feel like it was kind of, dropping down a bit. But now they've given her a title, they've put her in that place. I thought it was brilliant.
yeah, yeah. I think, she seems really cool. Uh, Dakota Kai, I would have given it to, but hey, don't
Yeah,
worry.
I mean, I think that there was a lot of people expecting it to go that way, especially with Bailey being at the side of the ring, and her being the number one contender now for the USA Championship, I believe, after Friday's match at SmackDown. But no, I feel like something's going to go on there. Maybe like a title for a title belt. Maybe don't really think it should be done, but I just have this weird feeling that they want to put Bailey there for no reason. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And then of course we then had Tiffany Stratton come down to the ring and Nia Jax, and we had this massive thing between them three. I feel like it's going to get very interesting. The one thing that is getting on my nerves a bit is I feel that we just need to get to the point and we end this story with Tiffany and Nia Jax now. I mean, she's won the title. It's over. Personally, the way I see it, if there's gonna be a women's match at the Royal Rumble, because there's always at least one, You got the women's Royal Rumble, the men's Royal Rumble. You got the Cody fight, and there will probably be another one. To me, I just feel like they're setting it up to be Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax at the Royal Rumble. Personally, because I don't think they can push this story a lot longer to go further than that in the build up to Mania. Do you think that would be a decent match to take that spot to fill up the full lineup for Royal Rumble?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it doesn't need too much. The Rumble speaks for itself. The fact that you got the women's and the men's. You don't need. You've already got that ladder match chucked in there.
Yeah,
That's an absolutely fine enough lineup.
and I think that's the thing that people forget is that personally for me, if they made it, I don't know, maybe it would be interesting one year, and just hear me out. If one year they had three Royal Rumbles, okay? But here's how it would be: you'd have the men's, you'd have the women's, and then you'd have the tag teams. Come on, that would be interesting. I think that
Um,
could be an
well,
interesting
like
way
a
to go.
10 tag team Royal Rumble
Yeah, something like that.
or a 15 because that'll be
Yeah.
half of those.
I know next year they're going to be going all out because they're in Saudi Arabia. Personally, my bet now um, is we're going to have a 50-man Royal Rumble next year. I can just see it happening. They did it last time they had a Royal Rumble over there. Um, I can just see it being a 50-man Royal Rumble next year.
Yeah, but for me, mate, it's always about quality, not quantity.
Exactly. I was just about to say the same thing. It's quality over quantity with these things. Um, and then of course was there something else that happened on Raw this week, Callum? I'm forgetting. Oh, yeah, that was it. Chad Gable, he had this match, didn't he? And we didn't know who he was going to be fighting. And oh yeah, who was it that was his opponent in the end?
It was Penta.
Oh yeah, of course, it was Penta. Penta L Zero has finally debuted on WWE. I've got to admit it, I was a bit disappointed that it weren't on the first episode of Raw, but the way they did it, the way the match went, the way he came out to the crowd, the promo he did afterwards, the the little promo that even Rey Mysterio did that it wasn't even needed, but it just put him over even more. I, I want to say this, and I know a lot of people are going to say, don't, judge before you've seen, like a proper full match, and, we need to, see it a few more times down the line. But to me, 9 out of 10 in perfect debut matches and debuts to WWE I think I have ever seen. Callum, your thoughts?
I thought it was a really cool debut. I've never really been a huge fan of lucha style wrestling. I don't know why. I'm not sure. I think it's the masks. I don't particularly like the masks because I like to see who's fighting,
Yeah,
but Penta just looks cool. Like he just
yeah,
looks like his mask is so fucking intimidating.
I know.
And he looks like a real scary guy. And his music's great. He's cool. Like that's what we needed. That's the sort of lucha we
a
needed.
hundred
Uh,
percent.
I mean, he could easily take the pedestal of someone like Rey Mysterio
Which
because
was
it's just
exactly what I was going to go into, to be honest. Ray's kind of like at that point now. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's done everything he can. He's headline mania. He's won the world championship. He's had a match against his son. His son, Dom, is doing unbelievable by himself. I don't personally see him going down the route of being a luchador in later career purely because he is just, he's. I think that was the original plan, in my opinion. I think the original plan was for Ray to hand the mask down to him. But I think with the way things have gone and the way let's be honest, the Judgment Day has been going on for over 3 years now. I can't remember a faction that has gone that long with the same hype that it had at the beginning, if not more, 3 years on. I mean, the only one I can think of personally is the Four Horsemen. Um, and that's it. And I'm being serious. Tag teams, yeah, but in terms of stuff, like factions, like sorry, um, factions like the Judgment Day. I've never seen one be so over for so long and still have the same hype that they had at the beginning. You know what I mean? You look back, Edge started this. Edge hasn't been with WWE for nearly a year and a half now, and it's still going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But going back to what we were saying, Penta. Oh my God. Let's be honest, they did kind of spoil it. It leaked online, and it's not because we didn't know that. I mean, they showed his graphic on the first Raw. We knew he was coming. We knew it was going to be him. But was it me or was it really funny that they kind of leaked it themselves by putting the merchandise up too early, about
Yeah,
5 hours
no,
before
that
the
really
show?
sucks. Like they
Yeah.
made a mistake. They got to have made a mistake there.
And you know that they admitted it. You know that they admitted it. He comes out, you see his face. Michael Cole, the first thing he said, the worst kept secret in in the world of wrestling for the last 2 weeks. I thought at least you're owing up to it. What I also loved was hats off to Michael Cole and Pat McAfee for the commentary that they gave on that match, giving people that didn't know about Penta and his amazing history as a luchador. Like one of the first things they said was people consider Rey Mysterio as the best luchador of of the last 20 years. Number two is this guy Penta. The fact that they are putting him in that category in his debut, you know, you know they've gone in for this. They've got the t-shirts out, they've got the hoodies out, they've already got the rights to make the luchador mask, which by the way, I will be buying one of them because it is so goddamn cool. And I just feel there's so many opportunities. His promo was fantastic, by the way. Apparently, there was a chance that he annoyed a few people backstage because he went over his time. But look, the guy's worked for over 20 years in the business. Uh, and he was always, one thing I've heard him say is that you always get told about, you haven't made it until you're in the W. I think this was Bubba Ray Dudley on Busted Open last night I was listening to. People are always told, you haven't made it until you're in the WWE. And people kind of like don't really understand it. You could see within Penta's eyes, and I completely agree with him in this. You could see with the way it meant, the emotion in his daughter's face, ringside, how much that moment meant to him and his family to get to that point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, people can say all you want about you know, all you want about, becoming in certain industries, certain companies, but WWE is the pedestal, really.
Yeah, and I think people need to understand that. One thing that and a lot of people don't like me saying that. I know a lot of people go, oh, I'm a wrestling fan, but I can't stand WWE. Like, great, fine, that's you, fine. But you do understand that everything else you watch and everything else that has come out of wrestling in the last 60 years, nearly 90% of it would have been taken from an idea that was originally used by these guys. Okay, you are not going to find an idea where people are going to go, oh, they did that when they were still doing it in county fairs and states now. It's been 60 years. The guys have been on the top of the map. There's other companies out there that think that they are at the same level, not naming any names, but I'd love to say that yeah, they're getting there, but they haven't had the history yet to back them up. And I'm gonna say it. One other thing that Bubba Ray Dudley said was, you could tell within the video package, the lighting, the special effects, giving him that time on the mic. It was WWE's way of saying, this is how you put someone over within one match, if you know what I mean. And I
Hmm.
completely agree with him because it did feel like they were going, this is how you're supposed to do it. This is why people always want to come to us, and this is why we are the best at getting people at the getting the best out of people that we know have the talent and just need to be given the opportunity. And it speaks volumes for me. One thing I'm really interested in is Who do you want to see Penta fight? I mean, where do you see him? Where do you think his first rivalry is going to come? I mean, a
Everyone,
lot of
man.
people are going to say that they want to see Ray. I want them to do Ray versus Penta. Of course I do. But I don't want them to just throw it out there for the sake of throwing it out there. You know what I mean? I think it's something we need to build to. In terms of his first rivalry, and a match with someone, that could work really well with him, considering his style, I really think one of the best options would be someone like Damian Priest, or, or I'd love him, and I think this would be fantastic if you had Penta go for the USA title against Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania.
That would
Because
be a cool match.
Shinsuke hasn't had the chance to really go
That'd be
for it.
really cool.
He's been given the opportunity now with the title. It puts Penta in that place where he could go for a title at his first WrestleMania. They kind of have the same kind of skill set. They know they would be perfect to work off each other. I just think that in terms of booking it for his first run, I think Shinsuke is the perfect option for Penta.
I believe that's a perfect choice, man.
Yeah.
Perfect choice.
Who would you go for?
Mate, it's hard because Shinsuke would have been the number one choice. But really, Penta could go against anyone. I can actually see him and Dom having a good storyline,
Yeah,
almost with the fact that Dom could be really cowardly towards him,
yeah.
and like kind of like scared of him. Um,
Mm,
in a fight, that would be quite interesting to see.
100%. You know
Yeah,
someone else I think it would be really interesting to see him fight against? I don't know if
go on.
because he had the match this week and it caught me off guard by how good it was. Not that I know the guy's good, but sometimes people have matches and they just, hey, that was pretty good. I think he'd be a great. I don't think you'd get a really long storyline out of it. And it's not going to be something they're going to go for straight away. But I think a really interesting match would be him against Ludwig Kaiser. Just from watching his match this week, man, and some of the things he was doing in the ring, the the heights there, the skills. I mean, one match that we need to see just because they're both known for how strong their chops are. We've got to have Gunther versus Penta at some point. It's got to happen.
I think it could. I think it could. Why not?
Yeah. But no, Penta's here. I'm extremely excited. I just hope they get it right. You know, let's not. I mean, it's in the nicest way because I love the guy still, but it's just hasn't been given the opportunities as of late. I just really hope he doesn't end up like an Austin Theory. Where they throw absolutely everything at him, but as much as half it lands, the majority where it needs to just falls. But I really hope that won't be the case with Penta. And to be honest, just on top of that, I really hope they're gonna give Austin Theory another shot soon because the guy's such a talent and what he's been doing for the last 7 months. Oh man, I just wish we could go back to where we were 2 years with Austin Theory because he's so there, but it's one of those cases where you just need to connect them dots, man, and he would be on fire in my opinion. But I digress. To finish off today, we are going to make our Royal Rumble predictions for this week. Our Royal Rumble predictions for this week. Now, let's just go over who's been announced so far. So we've got Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, John Cena. I believe that's all the men that have been announced. I'm going to double check. And then I'm going to check the women's.
A few moments later.
So far for the men's, so the ones that we can rule out: Roman Reigns, LA Knight, John Cena, CM Punk, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre. 23 more people to be announced. In the women's, there's only been one, which is Nia Jax. So we're going to take them out. There's 23 for us to pick. Well, in the men's, there's 29 in the women's. Callum, I'm going to let you go first. Who are your top two picks for the Royal Rumble this week?
Could this? It's just people entering it.
People you think are going to enter this year.
All right, for the men's, I'm gonna go Alistair Black.
I think that's a really good shout this year. I think that's a really good shout.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
actually speaking about it with my manager today at work, and I feel like that could be on the agenda. Um, who else do I feel? We'll go Uncle Howdy.
Wow. Okay. A
Mm.
little bit of a curveball there. I didn't see that one coming, but now that you say it, yeah, I can see that working. Yeah, I can see that
Yeah,
working.
the White Six have been very quiet. Be quite cool to see him in the Rumble, but then again, will it do much for his character if he gets kicked out of the Rumble? I'm not sure.
But again, with things like that, especially where it's Rumble, we've spoken about this before, it all comes down to how does it happen? How long's their little moment together? Who is it that throws out who? Who were they fighting with at that time? There's things like that you can take 20 seconds of the Royal Rumble. It can become one of the biggest moments at Mania that year. You
The
know
great
what I
thing about
mean?
the Rumble is it sets up storylines too.
100%. Okay, in terms of men for myself, um, I think there's one guy I'm pretty sure is going to be in the match, and I think he will be incredible. So my first pick is going to be Jacob Fatu.
Oh yeah, great choice.
Yeah. I just feel that he's gonna be there. They're gonna have most of the bloodline in there. There's not gonna be a fight for them at the Royal Rumble, so there's gonna be no other reason why they're not in that match. Unless if for some reason they pull something off with Kevin Owens. Don't see it happen, to be honest. Um, yeah, but I'm pretty confident in that one. Jacob Fatu is my first pick this year. My second pick for the men. Um, I'm going to go down the same route as you. Well, actually, am I? See, I've got a guy from NXT that I think could do it, but I think I'm going to go with, I think, the more obvious choice because I want to give it one more week and see where this person's at, okay?
Mm.
So hold me to that, guys. If I don't say the NA, if I get to next week, you got to remind me, Callum, to mention who was it on NXT and if I'm going to put them in. But for now, my second pick, I think it's obvious he's going to be in there. He's just made his debut. It's going to be Penta. He's got to be in there, and I think we're going to
Mm.
get a cracking few moments of him at the Rumble. It just makes sense, you know. It's a great kickoff. He's got, he could easily have another match on Raw, coming up to the Rumble. Maybe do a promo here and there, but he's gonna be in the Rumble, man. He's got to be. And now over to the women. So there's a few here. Um, for me, first pick. Um, I think it's one of the most obvious ones. She's due back. We know that she's coming back. There's this could refer to about three people here. Um, but I think people know that they're gonna come back at the Rumble, and I'm almost 99% sure that they're gonna be a surprise entrance. It's got to be Charlotte Flair. If she's not in the Rumble, something has gone massively wrong. To me, she's one of the best in the women's division. She always has been. She's part of the women's Four Horsemen. She's main evented three of the six women's WrestleMania main events. You know, you can't argue with her history. She's known for being one of the best because of that. My first pick for the women's has got to be Charlotte Flair. My second choice, this is the thing. I'm very tempted to go a little bit left field here. Am I going to go left field?
Go left field.
Yeah, I'm going to go down the same route as you. And it's going to be quite weird. But I just feel that we're going to get something off. I'm going to go Nikki Cross. I think we're going to get something off Nikki Cross this year in the Rumble. So
I
they're
actually
my
think that's
two.
quite a safe choice there, Charlie. To be fair,
Really?
yeah, I think
I
she'll
just feel
definitely
like she's had these
be in it.
moments in the Royal Rumble every year that have always, like, they've never ever jumped on them. But I think one year they will. Because I just love Psycho Nikki Cross. The stuff they were doing a few years ago of teasing her and, her just staring in the ring waiting to be thrown out. I think they did that at the last Rumble and all that kind of stuff. Why didn't you jump on that, man? That could have been amazing. But I think we're going to see Wyatt Six version of her. And I just feel to me, last few years, I think she's got to have one of those moments at the Royal Rumble this year. Callum, back over to you for your final two choices. This is for the women's now.
I'm gonna go. Let me think. I'll probably go with. It's very tough with the women, so I'm gonna go Kelly.
Oh, that's a good shout. That's a good
Yeah.
shout because you've got to remember we're going to have a few surprises in there. It's on Netflix. They're going to be bringing back a few
Oh,
legends.
and someone we haven't seen in a while, Oscar.
That's a really good shout.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
think.
really, really good shout.
Yeah, I think Kelly probably, obviously would just be a little pop, just
Yeah, a
because
minute and a half.
of
Great special guest. Get the audience pumped.
yeah.
Round about 10th or 15th. Yeah.
But however Oscar turns up, she could be in
Yeah.
contention to win the damn thing.
Which wouldn't, again, you've really thrown me there because that's just someone that I weren't thinking about. And it's almost like it's come straight out of nowhere. And man, my mind's just going insane now. Yeah. I mean, has it, when was the last time we saw her? November?
A long time, yeah, well, a
Yeah.
while ago.
Something like that. So far in our Royal Rumbles, we've got LA Knight, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, and John Cena. We've just added, who was your first pick from NXT?
It was Aleister Black.
Alistair Black. Oh, I thought you said someone else. Alistair Black. Yeah, of course that makes sense. Yeah, another major pop, and
Mm.
we're throwing in Uncle Howdy as well. I threw in. Uh, God, my mind's gone blank. This is why we need to write these down. We will write these down. Um, I threw in,
2 hours later.
and we also added Penta and Jacob Fatu for the men's. And then for the women's, we've just gone over. I added Nikki Cross, and who was the other one I added? Who was the other one I added? Nikki Cross, and oh, who was it? Oh, Charlotte Flair, of course, Charlotte Flair. And then, of course, you've just added Kelly and Oscar to join Nia Jax up there. We've got a pretty good shape rumble. Next week, we will be adding three to the list. We're going to be doubling it each week to get us to that 30 mark. We know that a lot more are going to be announced, but we're going to create a paragraph so you've got something to look at next week with all the information of our Royal Rumble predictions. I think that's it for this week. Callum, thank you so much for joining me yet again.
No problem at all. It was my pleasure.
Brilliant. And thank you all for listening yet again. We will see you next week after another crazy week of wrestling. Who do you think's going to be in the Rumble? And do you think there's going to be more surprises on our road to WrestleMania? We'll see you next week on Before the Free Count.